Doma Sports Talk worldwide with some news from the world of boxing. So y'all know what time it is. You ain't in a rush to get concussed. Now, normally we going into Canelo weekend, right? Next week it's gonna be Canelo versus John Ryder. A fight that I was telling you is going to happen since what, about a year and a half? Since the Daniel Jacobs versus John Ryder fight, which I watched again recently, and Daniel Jacobs won the damn fight. John Ryder looked good towards the end, all right, but it wasn't enough for him to really win that fight. And I told you after that fight, well, that's happening because John Ryder is going to be the next opponent of Canelo Alvarez. Now, we're going into that week, right? And since we've been seeing pay-per-view numbers from, Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia, and they're over 1 million, you're hearing anything from 1.2 to 1.6 million, whatever. That's pretty darn good for pay-per-view right now in the age we live in with all the streaming, right? So that's pretty good, right? If that's good or bad for boxing, I don't know, because that wasn't the two champions. It wasn't even for a belt, but that it did those numbers. Canelo's numbers won't be revealed. I'm telling you here and now. They won't reveal his numbers because they're going to be dismal, right? Ain't nobody trying to see Canelo versus John Ryder, even in Mexico. They're going to go to it because it's an event. But ain't nobody going to be paying for Canelo versus John Ryder. John Ryder has 5 losses and a couple of more, probably, because he's lost to Jacobs too, right? And John Ryder's all right, but Canelo is surrounded by too many people that he could have fought all this time. Both Charlos, an Andrade, that's 3. David Morrell, David Benavidez, that's 5. Bivol, he should have fought right after an immediate rematch. He didn't, and that's 6. And Beterbiev and all that, right? It's too many great fighters he could have fought instead of here John Ryder. And the little wrist operation is not an excuse for that. Now, when it comes to Bivol, keep your eye on something, which I should do an extra video about, but I ain't got to because y'all know I know what time it is. Right, the WBC president, Solomon, is saying, hey, Bivol and Beterbiev can't fight because, well, I'm not going to sanction that. The WBC is not going to sanction that fight because Bivol is Russian, right? And, we have the Russian-Ukraine war. We've been having it for a while. The Russian-Ukraine war was before Canelo versus Bivol won, right? When they weren't letting the Russians fight, but we were wondering, well, why are they letting Canelo fight Bivol, right? Because Canelo wanted to fight Bivol. Now, the reason why the WBC is messing with Bivol right now is because after Canelo fights Ryder, he ain't going to want to fight Bivol. And I told you if he want to fight Bivol, it's going to be at 175 because he doesn't want to fight Bivol at 168 because if Bivol takes those titles at 168, Canelo is not a star anymore. There's no excuses. If he loses to Bivol at 175, then hey, 175, yeah, that's just really not my weight. Bivol and his team's not having those shenanigans. They want him at 168, so there's no excuses. But if he loses, Canelo would be out of the box at 168 because to get back in, you would have to fight a David Morrell, which the WBA is, they're being really, really ridiculous here because they're trying to consolidate their belts. But when it comes to Morrell, who's been the regular champion for about 2 years now, they still won't force Canelo to fight him because he's too damn good. Right? All they talking about Morrell fight the WBC guy, Benavidez. You see what I'm saying? None of them have to fight Canelo. And so that's what's happening with Canelo and this Bivol situation. The WBC is giving Canelo an excuse after Canelo fights Ryder is that, hey, well, you can't really fight Bivol because he's Russian now. So then that means Canelo won't have to fight him, and he'll fight that dude whose name I can't think of right now, who used to look good, was undefeated, and then he had two fights, which he just signed for Matchroom. Keep forgetting his name. So Canelo could fight that guy, because Canelo ain't fighting David Morrell. He ain't fighting David Benavidez. He ain't never fighting Andrade, because Andrade has the same attributes as Bivol. And the Charlos, they need to come up and get back into it a little bit. So that's not happening. So that would be that guy whose name I can't think of right now, but it ain't going to be one of the main guys. So, and that to make sure that Canelo can do anything, here's the deal. He's going to fight John Ryder. No one's going to talk about any pay-per-view and what the numbers did because they're not going to be able to release the damn numbers. That's what's about to go down. After that, WBC gonna help him not have to fight Bivol. Then that name gonna come up, which I can't think of right now. That's what's gonna happen. Doma Sports Talk worldwide. And I'm up out of here, y'all.